Well, hello, Jemima. We are so excited to have you here today. It is such an honor to be able to have your sons, plural, everyone.
Yes.
Your sons be a part of, well, or they're recipients of a Sunshine's Christmas this year for the Michael L. Johnson Jr. Foundation. And when I say sons, I mean double the fun.
Yeah.
Because twins, twin boys. Tell us more about your beautiful little superheroes.
Well, my boys, Kash and Karter, they're both 7 years old. They have ASD, so autism spectrum disorder, and one remains nonverbal. One, he has a couple of words, and he's building every day, but he works really hard to get those words. He was nonverbal until he was maybe 4 years old. So it's a challenge for communication. We've had to learn ways to figure out what they want based on their expressions. And even though they have a device, an AAC device, which helps them communicate, but a lot of times they just, as they get older, they want to communicate like everybody else. So they'll try their best to, point out things, or they make certain symbols on their own that they've created. So it's a challenge, but it's always really fun with them. They have a really amazing personality. They seem to be Mr. Popularity wherever they go. So that's the funny part of it. Karter is the charmer, and everywhere he goes, his teachers, his therapists, wherever he goes, they're just always like, "Hi, Karter," and stuff like that. So we have a lot of fun. And Kash is very, very, very energetic, but he likes to keep to himself and stuff like that. So they're twins, but they're opposite in many ways, and stuff like that. And they have their two older sisters that help me a lot, Layla and Bonnie. So we're always having fun. It's always busy.
Okay. Can you please explain what an AA device is?
Oh, the AAC device is a device specifically, it's an iPad, but it has a program on it that's specifically set up for children with ASD who have communication disorders. So what it is with ASD, it's most children with ASD communicate with pictures. So they've figured out by speaking to kids who used to be nonverbal, who are now verbal, and adults, that they used to store pictures in their mind to remember things. And that's how they slowly have come to develop these AAC devices. And so if Karter or Kash are speaking, if they want to speak to me, they've been trained in speech to get their AAC device, and it will speak for them. And, they'll press I, want, and chips. And there's a picture with each word. So the reason why they don't do other things like they won't use, some people will teach them how to use sign language when they're very, very young, but some children with ASD, their cognitive ability doesn't get to the point where they can learn more sign language. So you need the pictures, because with pictures, that's more universal, and that can be taught at any age. So that's how the AAC, and the AAC has been proven to help a young child develop speech faster if you provide it for them at a very, very young age. So that's what's helped us the most. I don't think Karter would be able to communicate with words at this age if he didn't have an AAC device. So that has helped us a lot.
That is really wonderful
That is
to
wonderful.
hear,
Yeah.
because I think the AAC devices were coming on board really just about right before we lost JR when in our educational space, because they were using that method, if you will, with cards. So he was communicating with cards.
Yeah, we started with cards.
Yes, and then they elevated it to the iPad, but he really was not feeling the iPad. He was like,
Kash didn't feel the iPad either. Kash did not feel the iPad, and it actually took 2 years of being persistent. Like, a lot of people will quit. I mean, but it is now that you're, you know, and I would have quit too had it have been for the speech therapist who said, well, some kids take longer, just stick with it. And so Cash will use it now. It's mainly just to ask for food, but he'll use it. Carter, he as soon as he got the AAC device, behaviors went down. For him, it was like, I just need to communicate my needs. You know what I want now. There's less behavior. So he has proven, like within the first month of having it, that he knew more than we knew he knew. For Carter. Yeah. So he was picking up on it. It was like month 2, and he was like, I want to go to park. And we were like, whoa, you know what a park is, you know, like that. So that's how it's helped a lot, you know. And then a lot of people still don't know what it is. So I also try to advocate and share about that. Even their doctor was like, what's that? And I was like, well, you should know. But, you know, so we bring it everywhere we go. Some people think they're on the iPad, and I just, you know, mention, you know, that's not the iPad. They do use an iPad, but it's supposed to be separate. This is their communication device. Right. And so, and they teach them in therapy and in school, you bring this everywhere you go. It's hard because, you know, it's hard for them to navigate when they're in the playground, but we try to bring it, at least it's in the car or on a bench, because if they want to really say something, they could grab it real quick and say, I want this. Because most of the behaviors comes from you not being able to say what you want. I want a drink or something bit me. An ant. Now Carter will say, you know, an ant, or he'll say my stomach. And, you know, and he couldn't do that before. So I think that has helped us the most.
So tell me, Jemima, how does that make you feel as a mom with, I think you said Carter is the more affluent with the device.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel now that he's more affluent? You see within a 2-month time span that he becomes more communicative to you. How does that make you feel though? I want to know how that makes you feel.
Well, it was a really good feeling because, you know, at first you get scared when you first get a diagnosis. You're not sure if you're ever going to have a child that's able to communicate with you or say what they want. So we were really lucky to be in a really good space. Their preschool, who at Nova University, their preschool, Bodwin, showed us what the device was. And if we weren't in that space, we might not know, because a lot of people don't know about it. So I was really just fortunate that I was in, when I ended up where I was, that's not the school I wanted to go to. But everybody was just like, because the distance, it was like 20 minutes each morning to go there and then come back. But everybody was like, just go there, see how it is. It's one of the best. And I'm happy that I followed through, because I might not have, you know, been where I'm at right today. So I was really excited, you know, about that. And we still are. We love our device and we take it with us everywhere we go. You know, maybe one day they won't need it as much, but you know, for now, it's been a game changer for us.
That is, I'm completely enamored with what you're saying about that. Really, I am, because I just, you know, with our loss with JR, just remembering the struggles that he had being able to communicate what his needs are, not being able to let us know when he's not feeling well. And it's like your senses are heightened as a parent when you have a child on the spectrum, because you have to really pay attention, because you're not able to express like what you would consider a normal child can tell you, mommy, my tummy hurts, or mommy, my ear hurts. They can't do that. So they're just living even keel, just going through life and not totally being able to express themselves. So having that, that just, I mean, that warms my heart. I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional about that. I think that's exciting. I think that's exciting. And I really do believe that I'm grateful that you had the educational resources that were able to help navigate you through and say that, you know, we think this will work. We could try this, because there's so many areas that are lacking, that are not prepared to deal with students that are on the spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, whether they're fully functional, whether they're nonverbal, you know, the acting out, you know, we I want to say 2 daycares that we had put JR in when we were down here in Florida previously. he was kicked out, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I've had many friends, many friends who have been kicked out of daycares. They're not equipped to handle it. And
No,
then they don't understand it at the same time.
no.
And and it's a shame. Things are getting better faster, it seems.
Yes.
People are still struggling with it, but I think the internet has helped, where people are spreading the word, and people are just like the other day on the internet in a parent group, someone was saying, like, this haircut place, I heard the hair cutter talking about a child when they left, and if you go to this place, they're not friendly for ASD. So, and just everybody got on the thing, and they were like, we're not going here. And it's not a way to punish them. It's just like, if you're not going to be supportive of these children, then you don't have our business. And then so that just creates a safe space for us. And I guess it's also because of the numbers with, like, I think the new report says 1 out of 41 kids have ASD. So then there's more people around who understand what you're going through. So now sometimes people see me with the boys, and they give me that look like, I know, you don't have to explain. When they were younger, you didn't get that as much. So it's getting better and better, which is, good for us, because people, are aware. They're more aware. There's still things, like, for instance, Kash struggles with, he can't tell us if his stomach hurts, because, they're working on the cognition portion of it, but the thing is that he's consistently being, in therapy, and they're trying to teach him how, so that one day he'll be able to say, my stomach hurts. Or if you can say, I want food, then you should be able to one day say, my stomach hurts or my head hurts. That's what we're looking for, because I still can't tell.
Right.
Yeah. So, but Carter's able to tell us, and he's able to tell us almost anything that he wants and needs.
Wow.
What was it like to get the ASD diagnosis for both of your children?
That was tough, because I wasn't stressed about it for too long, because I knew for maybe 3 or 4 months before my diagnosis, it takes time for them to even get you the appointment with the neurologist. But it's always that moment where they say it, because I was in the room and I thought it would be maybe a long process, and she took 15 minutes, and she was typing, and I was like, what are you typing? And she said, well, they do have autism. And I was like, that's it. You just look at them, and now after I got it, is, if you have these 4 or 5 things that are going on, there's no way that it's not that. So it was really tough for me, because it's 2 of them, and I thought I would be alone. But doing some research and stuff like that online, I found some groups that are called Twins and Triplets with Autism and stuff like that. And so belong to some of those groups. And then you're like, whoa, where do these people, what planet are they on? Because I never seen their kids. And then, just like, we went to the Children's Museum the other day, they have something called Sensory Saturdays, which is great at Miami Children's, free for the first Saturday of every month, and it closed for children with ASD and their families. And so we go there, and then I saw someone who knew me, and then I saw someone else with twins, and I was like, you have twins? She was like, you have twins? And so it's like, and there's not that many people in the museum, so you're thinking, okay, so there is a good number. It's just that, you're not going to realize it as much. But after that, slowly finding out that there's a lot of people going through what I am going through, it kind of helps some. And then, I tend to be an optimistic person. So I try to just look at the bright side and see that it could always be worse. They're pretty healthy. They didn't do NICU time. They came home, we nursed them. They love some fruits and stuff. Some people have some hard time with their kids eating. They're still picky eaters, but it could be worse, So I just try to think of it that they're very agile, very, very agile, maybe a little too agile. on the park balancing, and you always think they're gonna fall and they land on their feet like cats. So things like that, I try to say, take the good and the bad, for whatever it is.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, so I guess that definitely has to be a challenge to have two. I couldn't even imagine that, just having one, and it's like, wow.
No.
So, wow.
And then, so people would be like, you got two girls and you got two boys. That's so amazing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know I was having twins. And then they turned out to have ASD. Yes, I did not know I was having twins. And then, so that surprise. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And, they used to run in opposite directions and nobody was speaking and no device. And it was a struggle, but we push through. My family sticks together too. So that has helped. I live with my mom also and my husband. So my mom helps. And we just have lived together since before that. We were supposed to actually try to move before they were born, and we've never left. But the family dynamic works, and it's actually best that we're in the location that we are, because the best resources come from this location, and I wouldn't have been able to afford this location without being together with my family. So we've kind of helped each other with that.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. So I hear a lot going on. We maintained on a regular basis 4 in the household. My husband has an older daughter, but we on a regular basis were a 6 family household. So my question for you, with that being said, what are you doing for yourself, for your own self-care, for your own mental health, to make sure that you're staying, the best that you can be, and that your cup is not always empty?
Well, I do think that's important, because it can get very difficult. I met a great group of moms when they were in preschool, I would say. They went to a special needs preschool, and they always, had meetings and talked about that. So I joined the PTA, and all the information I gained from there, they would always say, just come to lunch with us or whatever. And so even though it's been years since we've been to preschool, I just always try to continue that, even if no one's available. Sometimes I have lunch by myself, or, sometimes I'll go get a manicure, maybe not as much as most people do these days, but when I can, so I will do something for myself every now and then. And, since I have my mom as the backup, she will help. And I also have great brothers. They're adults, but they're much younger than me. They're in their late 20s, and they help a lot. They say, if you ever need anything, just go away and do something. So that's how so I've been doing a little bit here and there when I can.
Well, that's wonderful. I love that you have a very supportive family unit. I think that is crucial. And while as we were raising JR, we pretty much were our own family unit with the 6 of us, just us and our 4 kids. Our older children were very, very in tune to JR and whatever he needed. Our oldest daughter, Micah, she would fix him a snack before he even had a chance to ask. And it was almost like they were in sync, because she'd be in the kitchen and snack and he's already coming for it. She would call him and he's coming for it. So that was always very beautiful to me. And I really didn't appreciate it until he passed, that I'm like, wow, we really had a total unit. We really had a total system that worked for our family in our home. My mother lived out of state. So whenever she would come or whenever we would go visit her, I knew I didn't have to worry about anything, which is phenomenal. So I just have to give a big kudos to your mom. I just want to tell her thank you so much for being there, because not every grandparent can handle that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot about a grandparent.
Very fortunate.
Yes.
Very fortunate for her, because even because I still we still try to sacrifice so the girls can do things so they don't feel left out, because that could happen too. We have a special needs child. The neurotypical kids can easily feel left out. And so I made sure my daughter, she was in ballet before ASD. So even when it got hard, because ballet is not cheap, it's like we got to keep ballet going somehow, some way. And so my oldest, she just quit, which I'm sad about, but she was in ballet for 11 years and it was very tough come recital time, but we made it work. And my 11-year-old, she's in ballet and she does sewing classes. So we just try to, and sometimes I just watch them. And then my mom is the one watching the boys when I'm watching or taking them. Mm-hmm. So without her, I'm not sure I would be able to continue all of that, because it would be too much for them to go through, because they're already at school and therapy. They're not going to want to run around, you know, right, and be in ballet and stuff. So yeah, I'm very fortunate to have that.
Yes, and we get it with the ballet. We had at the time that was the height of activity in our home. Our son was a varsity football player.
Oh boy.
Our oldest daughter was a dancer, so she had all genres of dance. And she was a competitive dancer.
So the competitive. Oh, you had to add that, because I already know.
Crazy.
Yeah. My school's not competitive. Her school's not competitive. They don't do that much. I know about it.
Yes. And our younger daughter was a competitive cheerleader.
Yeah.
Oh,
so it was purely, we were always on the go. Yeah. It was always, JR was always in tow. We always had, he loved his cars. He liked little playing cards and his books. Those were his things.
Cars and trucks and stuff.
Those were his things.
We love the cars and trucks too. Yeah. And they love riding in the car. So they're okay with the car in it being in it. Oh, they love it. They just look out the window. It can be hours.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, but it's about coming out somewhere and maybe not being there for long and coming back in. That's the problem.
The transition. We know that the transition is
the transition. Yes,
it can be very, very difficult. Yes. So yes, definitely our hats off to you with that. We just want to encourage your babies to keep on dancing. It really is a way, it's almost like an outlet for them too. I understand that every child needs something to do. Well, we work on the premise that every child needs something to do.
I agree.
Trouble. And I personally love the arts. Of course, I'm a sports fanatic. So, you know, yes, you are. I'm sorry, yes. Yes, so that's great. And again, I'm still captured. I'm totally encapsulated about your mom. I have a sweet spot for moms that really are present and understanding and a part of that circle. You know, you get to choose that. It's not a have to. So it's definitely a choice.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
About the dads, how's your husband?
Oh, he's really good with it. He was like, when it came to he's very nonchalant. So when it came to the diagnosis, he's like, well, they're the same Kash and Karter. And I'm just like, I get it. That's great. But what you mean it's not the same Kash and Karter? You know how much is going to be involved and all the things we're going to have to do. It'll work itself out. It's just like, okay, you know, but yeah, he's good with that. And so he's got a lot of pressure on him though, because, you know, we both always worked. And then when they were about 3 years old, the company I worked for went out of business. So I worked from home, which I was very fortunate to work for a small company for maybe 7 years. But right after, I forget the hurricane that happened 3-4 years ago, their business suffered. And so they went out of business, and it's like it happened at the right time, because the boys just got a diagnosis and I needed to concentrate on everything and I would not be able to do everything, like take them to their therapies and read up on everything I've been reading. I just wouldn't have the time. But, you know, it hit us financially, but Dad has had to take on that pressure. And I think he's done it very well. He's just always been the person who has to make sure that everything's okay, with the bills and everything like that, while I take on the other side. So, but he's real supportive, and he's always been like, whatever you say, Jay, like, so. And I've seen other people who struggled with that. Some people, like I nurse the kids, breastfed them or whatever. And some people are like, they don't think, their mate doesn't think that's a good idea. And it's just like, he's like, whatever you say, Jay, I don't have enough experience on that. So that's what I appreciate, he's like, I don't read up on it. So you read up on it. So it has to be right since you say so. So that has helped a lot, and yeah.
It is a game changer, I feel, to have a helpmate.
Yeah.
I really do, because there is just give and take. There's give and take. I personally just could not imagine life without my husband. I couldn't. Yeah. I couldn't. But I'm thankful for everything that we've been able to put together for our family, good or bad, and move forward. So I'm really happy that you have someone that leans into you and says, okay. And I think this is big too, that everybody has a job.
Yeah.
Everybody has a job. Just because you're not going to work at a traditional place, you're working hard to rear these children that need help in navigating where they're going right now. Yeah. So I think that is great. And it's a relief for you that you don't have to worry about the financial. Yes, it's a heavier financial burden for your husband because he has to figure it all out, but he understands that's his job, which is why he's comfortable in saying, Jay, go ahead, whatever you say, I trust you, and that's what it's about. I trust you to go ahead and take care of that. When you need me, I know you'll let me know and we'll figure it out from there. And I love the fact that he said, they're still the same Kash and Karter. And I know as the mom, you're like, did you hear what they just said?
They got diagnosis. I was like, I want you can accept, but I was like, you need to have some reaction. It's like, no, they'll be okay. Well, they're not speaking. They're not going to be okay. That's what I was saying. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You tell me, how did you find the special needs preschool for your sons?
So what we did first is we did something called Early Steps. Early Steps is a program before you're 3. It's not telling you that you have ASD, but you're going in there to say something's going on, and they evaluate them at a center, and then they come to your home once or twice a week. That's available for kids before they're 3. And then just to help you out with what's going on with them and give you tips if you see some developmental delays. And then so once they're turning 3, they age out. And so I would ask them, what do you guys think? And they were like, you have to see a doctor. We don't think anything. And I was like, you guys know if something's going on. And they were like, we can't do that. So then you go to a doctor, you get the diagnosis. And once you have the diagnosis, if you go and you call well, for us, it's Broward, that's my county. And then they evaluate them and they let you know what school is best for them. And so they suggested Bodwin. And I was like, well, there's a school across my street, across the street from my house that I've heard is pretty good. And they were like, trust me, you want to go to this school that we suggested. And at that time, I couldn't comprehend why. But at that age, with all of the delays that we had, they chose the best fit for us, which I'm very grateful for, because now every place you go, when you name this school that they went to, they're like, oh, and you get like some special respect because that school is known for helping a lot of children with ASD. So that's how I found Bodwin. And then now they're in the 1st grade at our school right across the street that has something called a cluster program. So they're in they're in their cluster class, but they do their activities with all the general education kids and stuff like that, like their Thanksgiving dinner or their jingle jog run that they had last Friday. And so they get to see and interact with other kids. and then, sometimes, but they're in their small class setting during the day. And I really like my school. I've heard a lot of people have issues and complain, but I've been very lucky. Their teacher is amazing. And their coach, they have something called an autism coach. She helps if there's an issue or whatever, or just helps make sure everything is, they have all their accommodations, and she's been excellent. So I'm very, very happy with my school. Yeah.
That is good. Thank you for sharing that with us, because part of what we are really trying to, what I really learned last year is you've gone through the interview process with me to determine if Kash and Karter would be a recipient of Sunshine's Christmas. So part of my interviewing process is really vetting and hearing what is new in the autism world. Although I'm always going to be an autism mom, because that's who I birthed and I love him. Although he's no longer here on earth, it's still the premise behind our foundation and what we put out. So it's always nice to hear what has elevated in the services for autism in children. So hearing what you're sharing, I learned last year from some moms that had some babies that were just getting their diagnosis, that were at a loss for, where do I go? What do I do? And I'm like, oh, sweetie, there's resources. And I gave them what I knew. So here you are to offer more, because mine was almost 20 years ago. We were going through that. So you're new age, if you will, you're updated intel. So I think that is fantastic. And again, that's why I really wanted us to have this conversation with you, to really not only share the fact that we're giving back to Kash and Karter, but more so to really hear you, to hear your voice, and to give your boys a voice, to share with other parents that can be going through the same thing that you're going through, you've been through, and that you're headed for. So I think this has been a fantastic dialogue, and I just want to thank you so much again for your time to just sit with us and really share that aspect, to continue the growth and to continue the conversation of autism. I think the more we talk about it, which, is almost, it's becoming a regular thing finally. When JR was diagnosed, we knew about it, but didn't know truly what it was.
Same for me.
There were some that were around us that had the same thing. So everyone around us in our family began to learn more, and just more so, I would say, learned how to be accepting that Mike Jr. was different. That's it. There was no education for them on, well, what is autism? It's just, okay, so if he does this, this is what we need to do. And that's all I need to know. That's kind of how we grew with it. But I'm just so glad that there's so many more resources out there now for these babies, these little superheroes, as we affectionately call them. I think it's so amazing, because it can be so frustrating for the parent. It can be so frustrating. And we have to be our children's biggest advocate, because if we don't, no one will. So I admire you, Jemima, for what you are doing for your twins. And I know you're so welcome. I know you're like, I'm just so lucky. You are truly blessed to have that school across the way that you wanted to.
It's across the street. Every day I'm like, we can choose to walk to school, and I'm happy with the staff. So I'm very, very lucky to have that. And, I volunteer sometimes, and, you see what's going on inside, and they truly love the boys, so that's what everyone's wish is, because when you drop them off, you're scared that, that somebody's not going to understand your kids. There's always going to be a couple people, but, if the nucleus is standing up for them, then that they'll be okay, because you can just tell, you can feel it when someone is really, really genuinely loves what they do when they're around your kids. And so I've been very fortunate, especially their kindergarten teacher. I don't know what I would do without her, because, I can just tell. And I've heard from other people, how amazing she is with them. And, she just gives them the biggest hugs, and she's so warm, so that's great.
I was just gonna say, that's very important. We actually had, our son had some very good educators and paraprofessionals that we,
Oh yeah, the paraprofessionals, that's important too. Yeah.
very important. So, and just luckily, the paraprofessional that we had, he was family. So he was
Oh,
probably-
that's a double bonus. That's a double bonus.
he looked out for him all the
Can't
time.
nothing happen. Yeah, nothing will happen because
Yeah.
they know. And then I always say, even if you work, volunteer once or twice. When they see your face,
Yeah.
it's less likely something will happen to your child. So just make sure people know who you are. You know, when I walk in the building, people say, "Hi, Miss McPherson." So it's like, okay, you know, you don't want to walk into a school and it's like, who is she? Because then, you know, there's no accountability if something happens. But, you know, if they know who you are, it's more like, oh no, she's around. So you got to make sure to, you know, follow protocol and treat these kids how they need to be treated, you know, because there's still always going to be
Right.
somebody who's not going to follow through.
Yeah.
You are so right.
Yeah, that's true.
There's always going to be, doesn't matter how amazing it is, there's always going to be somebody who's going to try, you know, and so treat your kid differently. So you have to pay attention, like, you know, have your binoculars on, like I always tell my daughter, and make sure you're aware of what's going on and let people know, you know, what's going on.
Right.
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 Very important. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I think we did it. And I
Yeah.
thank you so much again.
Yes,
This has
thank you.
been
Do
wonderful.
you guys want to meet? You guys want to meet Carter? Or?
I would love to meet Carter.
Maybe
you.
Cash. I don't know. Cash is a little moody today. I think you're only going to be able to meet Carter. Wait, let me just call him.
Oh,
Carter, come say hi.
not about special needs. Obviously.
He's running up the stairs. He's like, whatever. He's coming. Hey, Carter, you want to meet my friends? Close the door. Close the door. Look at his face. You want to meet my friends? Huh? Remember I told you some people got you some nice Christmas gifts? You're going to turn around and say hi.
How you doing? Hello, Carter.
How are you?
You want to say good? Say good. Good.
Oh, handsome. Look at you with your cute self.
Stop being shy. He is so not shy. He is so fake right now.
Okay.
Come on. You want to say bye-bye? You've had enough? Say bye-bye.
Guys.
Okay, you can go. I'll leave you alone.
Oh,
Nice
You can
meeting
go, friend. You can go. Go ahead.
thank you so much. My goodness. Love him. Ah.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us, be able to share and continue our quest to make sure that people have that autism awareness component so that they understand what they can understand and they can empathize what we're going through and help if needed. So thank you so much. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. I appreciate you guys and everything you do too. You know, it's something I would love to do in the future also if I'm able. So you guys inspire me also.
Oh,
You know.
you let us know if you need anything at all. Anything. All right,
Okay.
so great talking to you. We'll talk
All
to you.
right. Nice meeting you guys. Thanks. Bye.